if you're willing to be different, you don't have to maintain the same linear progression that everybody else and all the stories of this reality do. You can actually start living instead of having a life, meaning you actively can start creating what you would like to have. When you're different, you start thriving, you start looking for ways of being that are unique to you. And those are the people that change the world for the greater. Your difference is truly the gift you offer the world. And to diminish it diminishes all of us. And that is in direct contravention to everything we have been told about our difference, because we live in a world that highly values sheep. We live in a world that values homogeny and sameness. And if you're different and stand out, people come out of the woodwork to try to bring you down. And oh, well. And here's the thing that most people that are different have done most of their lives is try to be something that they actually are not. And so for most of us that are different, we have inherently perceived how uncomfortable it makes people. And what's funny is all the people that get really uncomfortable are the ones that are different themselves, that are trying not to be let out of the bag. And so we're inherently aware of that, and we don't want them to feel bad. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable. A lot of times they deliver judgment or unkindness or whatever. And so we learn very quickly how to appear to be normal. The difficulty with that is after a short amount of time, we start buying it ourselves. That is not a kindness to anyone. That is the greatest unkindness to you and the world. And also, it's no fun. You know, if you haven't been having any fun, it's because you haven't been as different as you actually are, period, in all the ways. Here's the other part is we can't do normal successfully. We suck at it. And so what happened was got me to a point where I was going to end my life because I couldn't do normal right even. And if you can't do normal right, you don't have very much going on, okay? Because all you basically got to do to be normal is keep breathing. I mean, that's pretty much it. Difference, when you're different, you start thriving, you start looking for ways of being that are unique to you. And those are the people that change the world for the greater. We place so much significance on significance, and we place so much significance on the significance of who's stopping us and why, but that's where we're killing ourselves. Because when you're truly being as different as you are, it's irrelevant who wants to stop you or who has a point of view about what you're choosing. And in that, here's the other one of the big lies that we bought is that if we truly care, then we will try to make everybody else comfortable. No, if you truly care, you will go because you may be the one person in their life that inspires them to know something else is possible. Here's the other thing is if we're willing to be as different as we are, we truly do inspire those beautiful humanoids in the world. And the humanoids are the seekers, and we inspire them. We without saying a word, we give them permission to follow their dreams, not the nightmare of this reality. Here's the thing is the stories well, I mean, if you look at it, what is the story of your life been so far, and how many, and how many of them do you repeat over and over and over? Because that's basically the way the story works. And the idea is you're just, if you're going to have a good life, all you got to do is just create a better story. No, if that would create an okay life, maybe, probably not, but maybe. But in actuality, if you're going to have a great life, then ditch the stories. And that's where we've got to be creative, though. And that's the other part about being different is rather than being creative, most of us like adopt all these storylines as we're growing up. And then we just try to put them together in somewhat of a better storyline. And so we keep functioning as though we're in some really bad Hallmark movie that has no happy ending that we keep trying to get to. What we found is there appear to be basically 100 stories that are running this entire reality that just repeat over and over and over, from the cycles of depression and war and and. Once you realize you're doing something that's not working, then what we do is we go, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be the opposite of that, which is still a story. And so we're stuck going from one side of the coin to the other, and we're not willing to actually be on the edge of the coin, which once again is where the difference is. And so it takes courage to walk that path, but it's one of the most rewarding things that we can choose. It has a lot of rewards along the way. And then there are certain sort of watershed moments, if you will, where because you'll be walking along and living your life and things will be up, down, and whatever. And they progressively get greater the more different you're willing to be. Because if you're willing to be different, you don't have to maintain the same linear progression that everybody else and all the stories of this reality do. You can actually start living instead of having a life, meaning you actively can start creating what you would like to have. And as you do, what happens is things get greater and greater and greater. And then there are certain times where it seems like in one moment you have an awareness of something that has been a point of view you've had or whatever. And it seems like you get more change than you've had since you've been on the entire journey. And it's beautiful. But once again, see the willingness to be different. We have stories about that. We also have points of view and projections about that and judgments about what that means. Like, I am willing to be different than you and you and you people. Well, what that really is also you being willing to be different than you thought you were and decided you were. And when you're willing to have that, that's an element most people never think about or talk about, which is that's when a major change can occur because you no longer have to hold on to the you were yesterday to continue that forward today and to continue it forward for the other people in your life today. So it takes some practice to be willing to be as different each day as we can be, rather than holding on to yesterday's story as though it must be held in place to create today and as though it's a predictor of today and the future. Awareness is light, story never is. If stories didn't play on our awareness, we wouldn't buy them. What our stories do is they couch our awareness in this is what this means. This is the only possibility from here. This is what this leads to. This is why. This blah, 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 blah. It puts the whole context to a very dynamic degree. Stories give us context for awareness that eliminates awareness. So now we have a context that we bought about what this is that's actually not true. So now we're really stuck because what's true is we have awareness. And now we have an entire world of lies around the space of awareness. And we move forward thinking, oh, okay, this must be true because I had awareness. And yeah, you had awareness. And then what did you do? The thing that you've learned to do, you couched it in story to validate it for you and other people. You couched it in story to not be so different as to actually just have awareness. And you couched it in story so you will only make the appropriate choice and never an inappropriate choice. Because one of your fundamental stories is that everything that is true about you and everything you are as a being is fundamentally evil, bad, terrible, vicious, mean, and awful. And here's the funny part. What is true about you is the antithesis of evil. What is true about you is empowering everyone, caring for everyone, being willing to contribute to everyone, even though most people aren't willing to receive it at all because they have their stories about how they can't receive. We've been like actors in other people's B-grade movies for the most part. Even the people you're like, they care about me so much. And yeah, maybe. Or maybe you just play a really good role in their story, and that's how that goes. And what if it's not wrong? We're not wrong for having stories. We're not wrong for buying stories. We're not wrong for doing this. And if you ask, what is the beautiful energy underneath this? There's a possibility for exposing to ourselves something different that's actually true for us. And that is where the beauty is. What if we don't have to connect to each other through this version of story anymore? What if we can acknowledge that as beings, there is a communion with all of us already?